Hello, all, and welcome back to Introverse Uncharted, the show that aims to remove the gravity from your world and send you on a journey through the stars. As always, my name is John, and I'm going to be your guide today into the Introverse. Again, kind of, if you didn't see the coming soon episode that I did the other day, a little bit of a new setup, right? A little bit of a new set of things happening here. You can actually see me. We're on video. A lot different quality of work. I had told you guys in the pilot episode essentially that as I kind of figured this thing out and got a grasp on some of the editing skills and the audio skills and the video skills, that I was gonna do it. So here we are. In case you kind of see me trailing off a little bit to the left here, or like in this direction, I have another monitor, obviously. So just a bunch of stuff going on, but. We will work through these kinks kind of as we get to them. As always, happy Wednesday, guys. Happy hump day. You guys made it halfway through the week. That's pretty cool, right? I know it's not always the easiest task to achieve, but here we are, and you've done it. So be proud of yourself. If it's been rough to this point, like I always say, strong drink time maybe, You might need to pour yourself a nice strong beverage and try to blow it off for the day, and... even if you've had a good day, if you're a good start of the week, you might need a strong beverage, Sometimes it's just how you unwind, how you get through it, all right? Just as always, a little bit of housekeeping, right? With the new setup, you can obviously see that I am not in a luxurious studio. So, it's an amateur podcast. You might be able to hear things outside of this room and outside of my control. So, dogs, kid, neighbors, lawnmowers... God only knows. I apologize in advance if that happens, but shouldn't be too big of an inconvenience, and we will work through it kind of as we're going. Where else can you find Introverse Uncharted? Well, TikTok. I'm finally kind of getting up there in subscribers. We're making some groundwork up. It's still not immensely impressive, but to me, one of the better subscriber rates that I have, so pretty proud of that. I try to post there every day in some way, shape, or form. So, TikTok, I'm at Introverse_Uncharted. Instagram, a lot of times I post episode updates and, when you can expect the next episode to happen, essentially, over on Instagram. That's at Introverse_Uncharted13. And Facebook, I'm just at Introverse Uncharted, so you can find our page there. Go right now, pause this video, go over to all of those pages. Like, follow, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Let's push this podcast to the moon, to Mars, and beyond. Let's do all of that, guys. Seriously, and thank you guys as always for the continued viewership and all that you guys do, all the clicks, all the minutes that you guys spend listening to me just kind of ramble on. I appreciate it, and I hope that as we keep going forward, you guys will stay with me, and this is only going to get better. So, all right, let's hit the rundown portion. All right, the pre-flight check portion, if you will. Pre-flight checks for the day are this week. So last Friday and Monday was the 2023 WWE Draft. I told you guys in the upcoming events episode, essentially, the What's Coming Soon episode that I just did last week, that there was some stuff wrestling related coming up, and one of those is a pay-per-view in Puerto Rico this upcoming Saturday called Backlash, and I'll be doing a review episode to that on Sunday, but leading up to that, they did the 2023 WWE Draft. The draft is not an uncommon thing if you're not a wrestling follower. The draft essentially mixes up their rosters so that they have a clean start to a new year post-WrestleMania. Every year they kind of brand it as this foundation-shaking thing that they're going to do, right? But generally what it is just moving champions from roster to roster and adding in some new bodies maybe, just trying to add some new things so you can have better rivalries, more content going forward for the next year. I'm just going to kind of hit my highlights on that. If you guys want a deeper kind of look at what I thought of the WWE Draft, I did a video over on TikTok this morning for that. It's about 3 minutes long, and it's just kind of my opinion of the WWE Draft altogether. But just kind of give you the Spark Notes John edition of my WWE Draft highlights. The draft is, like I said, essentially the same every year. They move champions and they bring up new talent, and then they, like from NXT, and then they mix it around a little bit. There's only so much time on TV for them, and there's only so many people. So they normally don't televise every single roster member on the draft. This year they did like a handful on the show. They did a handful on like Talking Smack airs after SmackDown, Raw Talk airs after Raw. So they did a handful of draft picks on those shows too. But altogether, again, just what I think matters based on what I saw as a long-term wrestling fan. Roman stayed on SmackDown. Roman Reigns stayed on Fridays with the Bloodline, and that means that the new WWE World Heavyweight Championship belt that is going to be decided at next month's, or that should be later this month's pay-per-view Night of Champions, that will be a Raw Championship. So Roman Reigns and the undisputed Universal title stay on SmackDown, and the new champion will go to Raw, which is pretty cool. Obviously, he kept the whole bloodline through the draft on SmackDown, so we'll see the drama unfold as the bloodline, in my opinion, inevitably breaks down, and I think that's slowly but steadily starting. Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes stayed on Raw. Again, great. That's just them having an opportunity at the World Heavyweight title where they weren't going to get more and more opportunities against Roman, as Roman is not on every episode of SmackDown. He doesn't attend all the time. He does do pay-per-views and stuff like that. So this gives those two huge names a good opportunity at a belt of their own, and lump in my opinion, somebody who should be talked about for the World Heavyweight title who's also on Raw is Finn Balor. I think Finn Balor should be in that conversation. He was the inaugural Universal Champion. He got injured that same night and never has had another. He had one shot at the title since, and it was against Brock Lesnar, and that was a bona fide squash match. So I think you give Finn another shot at it. But those three names, all Raw guys, I think that they have all fair shots at getting their hands on that belt. LA Knight, another favorite of mine, drafted to SmackDown. That's great. I don't know what that means necessarily for his efforts or attempts maybe at a world title, but I think that he has the possibility now to United States title, and Austin Theory is a pretty logical opponent, I think, for him. So that kind of works out. And with that being said, Grayson Waller got the call up from NXT, and Grayson Waller and LA Knight have had some barn burner matches in NXT. So I think that that's some cool stuff to look forward to for that. SmackDown also claimed the OC. AJ Styles came back for that, and I look forward to seeing what the Phenomenal One can do going forward. And probably one of the bigger draft moves, I think it kind of subtly slipped by, I think, for most fans or whatever, but Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio were officially split up roster-wise. Rey and his team, the LWO, got moved to SmackDown, and the Judgment Day with Dominic and Finn and Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley all to Raw. So we finally get a little bit of a split, and that story can kind of finally rest, I think, at least on a temporary basis. We obviously don't know how much more time Rey has wrestling. He just got put in the Hall of Fame, and he's up there in age. But, I think eventually they'll circle back. But for right now, I'm happy that we can finally put this dad-son thing to rest and move on to the next thing. That'll about do it for the WWE Draft Talk. I know not everybody who listens is probably an avid follower of WWE. I'm sorry that I didn't have more NFL draft coverage. To be completely honest with this audience, I watch a lot of NFL football throughout the year. I watch a lot of Major League Baseball throughout the year. I do not keep up a ton with college football. So a lot of times the draft is literal rocket science to me, where people talk about specific players and I don't know who they are. So I'm a Packers fan, for those who don't know, and what I do know about the Packers is that we always draft like a D lineman in the first round or an O lineman in the first round, where we should probably be drafting a receiver, and then we draft a receiver in the third round really late, which is essentially what happened for us. So we'll see how that roster looks kind of post Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, wish Aaron the best of luck with the Jets. But as always, go Pack Go on that. And I look forward to what the green and gold can do this upcoming season. Let's get into today's topic, which originally I had planned to be the European Space Agency's JUICE mission. The JUICE mission was it is in progress now, and it's the European Space Agency sending a bunch of technology to the moons of Jupiter, essentially to test to see if there's a possibility of life, especially on places like Europa, which they think is essentially a giant ball of ice in the middle of space. That was the original plan. Before I really get into what the topic is going to be, I want to kind of tell you how I structure the show for the most part, or what my process is. So my process generally is that the day before, so like Monday into Tuesday, I do my planning for the show, and I take frivolous notes. So I'm sure you guys can't hear it a ton when I just do the audio recording, but there's a lot of scrolling of the things I want to talk about, and if I have any quotes and any of that kind of stuff. And then Tuesday I record. So for instance, recording right now on a Tuesday, this is going to drop Wednesday morning. That's kind of my cycle, but it's a cyclical cycle. It's a thing I do all the time now that I'm in the rhythm of doing this. But like I said, normally it's hours of note taking, which the JUICE mission, I have already had a lot of notes taken on. But then I wanted to kind of throw this in a different direction. So what you're kind of seeing now between you and me is a little bit more off the cuff. I want to try something a little different. I have kind of some bullets that I want to hit, but you're going to get a little bit more of John rambling, which if you're a friend of mine, I'm sure that's going to annoy you out the gate. If you're not a friend of mine and you're just a casual watcher, I hope that it doesn't, and I hope that you enjoy what I have to say and can get with me. But I want to hit a little bit of a deeper topic, I think, this episode. Just kind of noticed yesterday into the day before. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and mental health is a big deal for me, for my household, for a lot of my friends and my family, and for a lot of you guys out there. Now, again, I didn't take a lot of notes for this one, so no statistics, just kind of off the cuff. But I know a lot of people suffer through mental health and stuff like that, and I feel like it's something to be talked about and kind of maybe hear and understand a little bit of the journey that I'm putting myself through right now. I want to do something. This is going to be kind of funny for me, but I'm a culinary school grad, and when I was in culinary school, I had a chef. His name was Chef Doug. And anytime he wanted to talk about something like this, or like dietary needs and nutritional needs, he always started with the preface, I am not a doctor. So I'm going to do the same and say, anything I say here is an opinion. I'm not a doctor. I have not gone to medical school, nor will I ever go to medical school. Not much that I say is going to be necessarily medically relevant, as much as just my opinions on what I'm trying to do to kind of clean up myself and my life and my habits. And if any of that rings true to you guys, use it. Please use it. It's been a long, hard run for me to get to this point of feeling ready to A, have this conversation, but B, to feel like I'm finally heading in the right direction. So yeah, I'm not a doctor, guys, and this is going to be, like I said, probably a lot of rambling and a lot of, just discussing my opinion and my feelings on certain topics. Let's start with, change is hard, and that's been a really big thing for me. It's hard to settle into routines and stuff that you feel are working, just to kind of, as you're going, find out that they're not. So, for instance, I am a chronic procrastinator. I take the lazy road a lot of times, which has held me down and held me back and made it so that it's hard for me to be a fully functional adult out in society. When you just want to be an introvert and be kind of into yourself, it's hard to accept change. Change is hard. But there has to come a time that you kind of accept that what you're doing isn't working. And, from my experience, I just kind of made a transition out of exceedingly full-time work into a more stay-at-home body, which I have done in the past. And it was a necessary change, but it was a big change. It's hard to go from grinding all the time and the level of stress that specific jobs and specific positions give you to a whole different level of stress, a whole different type of stress. Being a stay-at-home parent is hard. My wife can attest. She did it for a long time as well. So it's hard to grasp these new things, and it's hard to process kind of where you need to be mentally for them. With that said, though, change is hard, but sometimes it's necessary. I'm not going to bash on the company that I previously worked for. I had a lot of good years with that company. Not even going to name them, to be completely honest with you. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. That's completely fine. Mom and pop style brewery. I had worked for them pre-COVID, pre-culinary school, and I enjoyed the process. I have a lot of experience in corporate restaurants, and I did Red Robin for 5 years. I did Noodles and Company. I've done Landry Seafood. I've done a bunch of different, corporate-based jobs. In corporate-based jobs, you don't have any control. Okay, so what Red Robin sends down the chain for a recipe, that's life. You do what Red Robin says that you do. When I finally got into this place, it was absolutely earth-shattering to me that you could have control over some product. And it's not all of it. Like, when I first started that company, I had a direct boss, somebody who was always, they have 2 locations, I worked for both. There was always somebody over me who had the final say. But nothing stopped me from bringing an opinion to the table and seeing if something that I could bring to the table could be effective to the customer base. That was an amazing change. That was the handcuffs are on to creative freedom, essentially. I worked for the company for 2 years and just kind of felt like I hit the glass ceiling. I always told new hires in my last run that the thing about mom and pops a lot of times is that they have a very visible glass ceiling. Like, if you're the boss in a mom and pop, chances are what's above you is ownership and what's above them is nothing. And in order for you to hit their tier, you better have a financial investment, which I don't have. This is my studio, right? I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to drop into a company. So, I hit my glass ceiling, and it was disappointing, but I felt like it was time to make a change and to get out and go. So I got out, and I tried something a little different, and I did, a different restaurant for a little while. And then the pandemic, COVID hit, and the restaurant that I was working for at the time was kind of already financially wrecked. But I was also one of the newer guys. So not only did layoffs come, but the business decided to close entirely at the height of the pandemic. So, mid-May, essentially, that year, I got laid off, and I just felt lost. Like I just had nothing going on and nothing to do. And when you're kind of a grinder, it's hard to stop. So I, hit this wall where I just had nothing going on. And I started kind of looking into what the future was going to hold for me and my family. And I wanted to make the best of what I could do and bring the most I could into my household. And the pandemic was hard on a lot of people. But what I will say is that the pandemic was great for me in the essence of it gave me an opportunity to go to culinary school. So I did lockdown culinary school. It was weird. Half the time I spent on campus cooking in a kitchen. The other half of the time I spent at home cooking on a Zoom camera. You get a little bit, like for me, there was some hesitant moments of like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. this is my food. I'm showing it to you right now. Do you think that I cooked this properly? Like, obviously certain things you can just look at and be like, that rice is overcooked. Do it again. So, like, you can get away with stuff like that, sure. But there were some hesitant moments. But culinary school was amazing, and it gave me an opportunity to get out of my comfort zone when it came to food and learn a lot of new things and meet a lot of exceedingly talented people my age and even a little bit older. I also met some people that were flops, in my opinion, and that made the situation harder. But I think that when you go into school, any school, elementary, middle, high school, college, all that, sometimes you get the people who don't take it seriously. And if you're one of the people who's invested and your money is on the line, it makes it hard. But that was a gamble that I had to take, and that was a change that was welcomed, and I would never want to go back on that, right? But post-culinary school, I had to do an externship, and my externship was with Whole Foods. Whole Foods, obviously an Amazon company. It was exceedingly hard to feel valued in that company. It's not personal towards Whole Foods or Amazon for that matter, but they're not... Their apps are user-friendly. Their employees and their employers are not. So that's my opinion on that. So as I kind of wound through, I had to do 18 weeks or whatever of externship. So as I kind of wound through that, I knew that I wasn't a long-term Amazon employee. Okay, this isn't an episode of Superstore. I'm not staying. So I reached back out to this mom and pop brewery and received another opportunity to give them a shot. And this time I got to be a kitchen manager at one of their locations and actually have my opinion heard and valued for a while. Again, the thing with mom and pops, guys, is that your opinion still has a reach, has a ceiling. And if it's not what the ownership of that company wants to do, you get roadblocked. So not only did I start to feel... I did it 2 more years, so I spent 4 total years with that company. But at around the 3-year total mark, I started to notice the handcuffs slipping on. Not only that, but as coming out of the pandemic, it's been said a lot, but the workforce changed, and there wasn't as many people who wanted to work and wanted to give 100%. They just wanted to make money. So there were plenty of times that we hired people that stuck around for a couple days. It wasn't the easy cup of tea they wanted, whatever. So the revolving door started to happen. The handcuffs were on. And with all of that, I started being in the building more than being anywhere else, which work does that, right? But I have a 4-year-old, and when I had a full staff, I wasn't always at work. I had to take work calls outside of work and stuff like that, but I had the opportunity to decompress and be with my family. And I was losing that opportunity, and while losing that opportunity, my mental health started to very slowly wither away, which kind of leads me back to the change is hard thing, right? I made a gamble. I took a gamble. And I just decided one day that day was my last day. It was a really tough conversation to have with myself and with my family, but I needed to do it. And doing it has opened other doors. Obviously, I still take interviews every now and then, and some of those interviews now, especially with the degree, have a lot higher value and stuff like that, and companies that'll probably have more of a value to my opinion. But also... it's given me the opportunity to do this with you guys. And this is something that I have been telling friends and family for years that I was going to do. I was going to podcast. And last year I started podcasting. And I hit 3 episodes and I wasn't seeing the results that I thought I would see. And I got nervous. And that's another aspect of mental health, right? Mental health isn't just being sad. Mental health it's depression, it's anxiety, it's all this stuff. And one of those things that I started having was just ridiculous anxiety that what I was doing wasn't good and wasn't going to matter. So I stopped podcasting and I started making excuses. Started being like, oh, I could do it, but I have other things I got to do. I got a kid. I don't always have the time. I don't always have the ability. You start making excuses when you're afraid, guys. When you just don't think something's going to work, you start to find ways out of it. Introverts do that all the time. I'm also guilty of that. Anybody who is a real friend of mine, I have a couple in mind, will tell you that I have become very introverted over the years to the point where I will do almost anything to not hang out. Almost anything. But once you get me out, I'm completely fine. It's just the social buildup for me, and it's the feeling of being obligated to do things and to behave a specific way. I struggle with it. I struggle with it a lot. So the anxiety and the stress of the previous job that I had finally I was a teapot, man, and I started making that really loud squeaking sound, and it was time. It was just time to go. And I left behind some really great friends and coworkers, but I had to gamble on my own mental health, and I had to gamble on my future endeavors and dreams and passions and things that I wanted to accomplish. And it also whipped the door wide open for me to spend more time at home with my 4-year-old, which parents out there, I'm sure, are like, oh, that's a crazy decision, right? Again, I've done it before. I've been a stay-at-home dad, and my wife has been a stay-at-home mom almost the entirety of my child's life. It's not an easy job. It's tough. It also mentally tests you. It tests your patience. It tests your cap, your threshold for how frustrated you get and stuff like that. But it is completely worth it. And it, even on days where it's hard, it's always going to be worth it. It's a great thing. But again, it did that. It helped me to be closer to my kid, and it's opened the door for me to have this conversation with you. Change is hard, but sometimes you just gotta grip the bat and go for it. It leads me kind of in my next thing, right? It's your mind is crucial. Having a healthy mind is important. Having a healthy body is also very important. I took my body for granted for a long time. I don't have the healthiest diet generally. Exercise was just out of my realm. Again, I'm lazy. I make excuses. So did I probably have the time to work out? Yeah. Did I want to do that? No. Did I not be honest with myself about it and just make, poor excuses as to why I didn't need to do it? Also, yes. That's things that I deal with. But in the last, it's probably only really been a week. It feels a lot longer. But in the last week, I've really buckled in on the healthy body, healthy mind thing, right? So every morning I'm trying to go for walks and just get some sunlight, get some fresh air, and listen to a podcast, talk to myself, just get my own thoughts in order. And a lot of times ideas like this specific episode just happen while I'm out on the trail, just collecting myself. And at the same time, I decided that eating the way I was eating was also going to kill me eventually. I don't feel very healthy. I'm not a huge guy, all right, guys? I'm 5'11" to 6 feet tall. I'm 230 pounds, so it's not like I'm massive. But my eating habits were going to send me on that hill. So, I've started trying to add in those veggies and proteins and stuff like that I need to function. Sugars and stuff will kill you guys. It's not everything in moderation is kind of fine. But there was a period in time where I was drinking 8 sodas a day. Stuff like that. It makes you feel heavy. It makes you feel tired if you're not eating and behaving the way that you should be. So you gotta handle these situations. This mental health situation is a mind and a body habit. And what I can say is in the last week, I have felt more motivated to take it seriously and more proud of the milestones of actually getting out and doing it. My alarm went off at 6:30 this morning, which is pretty unheard of. And every ounce of my being wanted to make an excuse as to why I didn't need to get out that early. But I did. And by the time I hit the trail and the cool Colorado air was on my skin and I was breathing it in and the sunlight was there, by the time I was out there, it was fine. It's like my social situations. It's the buildup is always hard. The obligation is hard. But once I'm in it, and it's fine. A lot of that it happens with podcasting too. There have been days, like I have stacked a schedule. I have a Google Calendar full of how I want this to function. And there are days like today where I looked at it and I went, oh man, I have a episode I have to record today to put out tomorrow. I have a concert on Thursday. And then, as I said in my upcoming events episode, I got Foodie Fridays dropping on Friday. And I have a review episode for WWE on Sunday. So this is a busy podcast week for me. I'm going to be moving around. But I have to also find a balance between this and being on the trail and getting in my steps and balancing both of those needs, because these are both things that I am very passionate about now and that I want to accomplish at 100%. And one of those things that I told you guys in the beginning is, if I miss an episode or whatever, I miss an episode, but I'm always going to be open and honest with you guys about why that is. And I'm also not going to do something if I'm not going to do it at 100%, because I don't want you guys to look at these episodes to make, I'm making eye contact with you guys into this camera right now. I don't want you to look at me and go, he's not giving his best. I want to give my best for you guys, and I hope that you guys see that. I will never, shortchange you guys in that sense. The mind and the body are a commitment. It is a commitment-based process. It is not easy. It is strenuous. It is stressful. Working out alone just kicks in stress hormones altogether for everybody. It is a bodily function that working out inhibits stress hormones. Cortisol exists and stuff like that. You're gonna stress. It's your body's response to that stress that matters. And as you exercise over time and get out and do stuff, it'll help and it'll get better. Same thing with the mind, guys. Like, you got to put yourself into situations that stress you out. I get stressed out over things like calling people. Who does that, right? At this point, who doesn't send a text? I don't like calling Domino's. Like, if I want a pizza, I'm ordering it online. I don't like talking to people in a drive-thru. I don't like any of that. It gives me that social anxiety of I have to have another interaction. That's all nonsense. I can admit that. That's stupid. It sounds stupid to me. I'm sure it sounds stupid to you, unless you can relate to it. And if you can relate to it, I'm with you. I'm on the same page. I completely understand. And it's a struggle and it's hard. But you got to kind of put yourself in those situations so that they become more normal for you to start to work through them and start to feel better about it. One of the things that I've really started doing, I kind of briefly mentioned it earlier, is waking up. Just wake up. Just get out of bed, okay? I have this awful habit, right, of setting 4 alarms. And my excuse that I've used for a long time is, what if I sleep through the first one, the second one will catch me? Okay, well, I'm not that heavy of a sleeper. For those of you out here who are parents, I'm sure you can attest to, you may have been a heavy sleeper before you had kids, but now that I have a child, I can hear a pin drop anywhere in my entire apartment at night. I know where everything is and what everything is doing. I know where my animals are. I know everything, and I can hear it. My alarm is not a problem. So that was just another excuse for me to be like, I can snooze the 6:30 alarm and go to the 7. I can snooze that one, go to the 7:15. I can snooze that one, go to the 7:30. That was just my excuse to be lazy and to sleep in. Don't do that, guys. It is the pot calling the kettle black, but it is not hard. It's hard at first. Okay, it is. It's hard to grasp that you don't need to be in bed, but like, get up, go do stuff, get that fresh air, guys. The first thing in the morning, fresh air there's just nothing like it. Even like right now, it's 70 degrees here in Colorado, 75 degrees, so it's warm. If I'm in direct sunlight, it's shorts and a t-shirt weather. But in the morning, I still have to put on the sweats and put on the light hoodie and brave that early morning chill. It's awesome, and it's a good way to start the day. It's a good way to get moving, get the blood flowing, and get that mind flowing too. I find that when I do it, I've gone out on the trail 5 days in a row now. Yeah, soreness and stuff exists. But out on the trail, like I said, it gives me the opportunity to collect my thoughts, to have ideas, to jot those ideas down. You guys have notes readily available in your phone. Just use them. Just write down what you're thinking. Write down things you want to do. I wrote down an entire list of goals for this channel while on a walk. You know, just use your time and take that time and enjoy it. Like I said, it's not an easy task to, 6 months ago, getting up before 9 a.m. would have been a problem for me. And that, to a lot of people who are going to listen to this show, is probably astonishingly late in the day. I moved it back to 8, and that felt awful. I moved it back to 7. That felt worse. But that's all just in your head. And the more you do it, I mean, like I said, by now it's day 5. I woke up this morning, 6:30 alarm went off. Everything in my body said, stay in bed. And I just forced myself up. And once I was out the door, it was completely fine. So it's just about doing it, guys. Get up, get that fresh air, splash some water on your face, put in the earbuds, put on the big headphones, whatever, block out the world and get outside and just try to collect yourself and value your time and your mental health and your physical health. Because like I said, a lot of times, and I know my brother can probably attest to it too, if he's watching the episode, a lot of times it's just that little bit of time that you're out on the trail, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's an hour. I've been out longer than that, but it's just that time that you can kind of think about things and prioritize things, and you just get your head right. Because a lot of times your head just ain't right, and you just need a minute to get right. So, guys, if walking isn't for you, like, walking is just my thing, right? It's just, something that I enjoy. If you got other things that put you into that euphoric state that I'm kind of talking about right now, do it and love it and value it. But get up and do it. Don't make excuses. Don't put it off. Don't wait for later. Just get up and do it and have a good time doing it. The next thing for me on that is to just you set goals. Okay, like I said, I when I was out on a walk the other day, I came up with 10 different goals that I wanted to do for this. And 10 goals is a lot of goals. 10 goals sets yourself up for failure. So it's just about prioritizing goals and like what goal is a right now goal? What goal is a later goal? What can I accomplish? What can I actually accomplish if I use my time and my resources correctly? What can I do? But once you set those goals, go all in. Do it. Absolutely do it. YouTube is obviously kind of an open book when it comes to how many people view videos and stuff like that. You can view my videos. I think I have 115 views is the most views I've ever gotten on a single video. Those were the types of things the first time I podcasted that were kind of discouraging, right? Because you can look at a lot of other people's YouTube videos and they have thousands and millions and all sorts of stuff, right? But it's the process. You just stick with it. And over time, hopefully eventually it takes off the way that you want it to and the way that you made a goal for it to do so. So that's, I have that goal. One of my goals is to up my subscriber reach, which I would love to do, which, again, guys, shameless self-advertising. If you haven't yet, click that subscribe button for me, please. Thank you. But I literally have a daily to-do list that I do. Tuesday things to do. It's a stupid list of things. Go for a walk, make breakfast, clean my office, do the dishes, fold the laundry. It's all stuff that I should be doing anyway, right? But a lot of times just being able to mark something off is like, oh, I'm making these steps. I'm getting through the day. I'm doing the things I'm supposed to be doing and making time for personal passions, like doing this right now. So it's a give and take game, guys, but you got to put yourself forward and you got to set goals for how you want to develop and become the person that you want to be. And like I said, guys, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional. I'm not rich. There's nothing like that going on. I'm just telling you kind of based on my recent experience that you just got to grab it. You just got to grab it and go. Grab the ball and run. Because Otherwise, you're stuck in the starting blocks, and when you're stuck in the starting blocks, life goes by way faster than you want it to. When you're doing nothing, on the days that I was just being lazy doing nothing, it felt like those days blew by. My days have gotten longer now because I have more things that I'm trying to do and more goals I'm trying to accomplish throughout the day, and I gotta mark things off the checklist, and I gotta put change in the old space shuttle recovery fund that I got going on over here. You gotta grab it, and you gotta go, and you gotta have a good time, and you gotta value your health and your environment and everything. It's tough. It is a tough transition. Like I started off with, guys, change is hard. But if you don't just give it a shot, you never know what could happen. So, that's kind of what I want you guys to think about and to grasp. Set some goals. Seriously, pause this podcast. Write down 3 goals. 3 things you want to do in the next, I don't know, even if it's a year. I do that. I'll set here's a handful of goals that I want to do before the new year. All the goals I made for this podcast, I just kind of put times, not specific time, but I mean July, August, you know what I mean? I put times that I wanted those goals to be accomplished by, and if they're not accomplished by then, we extend that goal out. But it's a good time to evaluate your progress when you get to that deadline and you're like, oh, it didn't happen, but I did do this and I did make this much progress. It's not going to look the same as it did when you started. Nothing does. It's a journey. When I on my own Facebook, I take pictures of the same, I walk almost the same path every day. So I've taken the same picture of the mountains every time I've ever gone out. And I'll just put it on in my Facebook album, and the album is entitled My Weight Loss Journey. Because I'm trying to slim up, I'm trying to get my health on track. But it's a journey. It's something that it's not going to end today. This isn't the movie Uncharted, even though Uncharted is in the title or in the name of the podcast. But this doesn't end in 3 hours, okay? Tom Holland isn't going to come in here and do all this for me. I got to do it. So, set those goals and give yourself time and give yourself acceptance and understanding, and get out there and grab it. And honestly, when you do that, come back to this channel and comment and tell me about your journey and tell me all the things that you're doing and dealing with and struggling with. And maybe, there's still things that I struggle with. So maybe we can be of service to each other and help each other out. Sometimes it is a team effort. Sometimes it's a personal journey. For me, it's kind of a personal journey, but you can't be afraid to reach out. May is obviously Mental Health Awareness Month, so it's a time where I think we all need to kind of grasp ourselves and grasp our minds and think about where we're at mentally. May is always a tough journey for me. May is always a uphill battle. It was always a busy month anyway. If you're in the restaurant business, it's the build up to summer and stuff like that. The business starts popping. You start to lose those free hours because you're grinding. Excuse me. And then in 2017, May 1st, my mom passed away. So if you're not a friend of mine, that's a new piece of information on the channel. But it's always been something that, the month rolls around and it's knocking, middle of April, it starts knocking. It doesn't get easier, guys. Over time, you kind of think it does. And I think what I've done is just try to build up a wall so that as that day approaches, I just try to forget that day even exists. And I just try to skip it. Yesterday was May 1st. Yesterday was 6 years since I lost my mom, and I think had my siblings not said something about it first thing in the morning, I almost would have tried to just put it out altogether and just mark that day off the calendar and move on. Mental health does that to you. I don't know that I've ever been back at 100%. It's always been a struggle to lose somebody who's close to you, who you talk to every day, who you see as much as you can. My mom was sick, I'm sure in a later episode I can get into more detail, but my mom had emphysema and COPD, and she got really sick, and she went from hospital to hospital, from assisted living to assisted living, all the way to the end of her life. And I did the best I could to be near her as much as I could and to contact her as much as I could and to, do everything I possibly could to see her so that when the time came, I didn't regret anything. I still regret things, guys. I still find things to regret. I talked to my mom 7 days before she passed away. And then the next, in that next week, it was the same thing. It was, I found excuses that I didn't need to go. I had other things going on. I was working. I had social engagements. I had all this stuff. And then the day came and she was gone. And ever since then, I've thought, was there times in that week that I could have done one more stop in, one more phone call, one more anything? And the answer is yes. The answer is 100% yes. But that's the thing about healing, guys, is you got to acknowledge when you make those mistakes. But you can't dwell in them forever. I don't kick myself about it anymore. I just wish that I had done it and move on, She comes up deep in my mind a handful of days a year. Her birthday's mid-October. Mine's the end of October. She pretty much mentally dominates my month of October. May is a tough one. Anytime I'm in Estes Park, Colorado, it's always kind of tough to be there because that was her favorite place. It's tough to leave there. That's just what it is. It's one of those struggles that I have. But that's the thing about some specific struggles, guys, is this is a struggle that I didn't deal with alone. So when I am in the hole about it, I can reach out to my family and my siblings especially. We're there for the whole ride. And so they understand kind of the route we took. I'm the youngest of three, for those who don't know. So I'm the baby brother. I grew up a lot in 2017 and a lot more than I should have. And, 7 years before that, when she got sick the first time, I grew up a lot then too. And I probably didn't need to then either. But there are also still parts of me that feel like a kid talking about it, If you're struggling with stuff like this, guys, you got to reach out to those around you. And like I said, you got to talk about it. You got to acknowledge it. You got to write it down. You can't push it down. You can't hide it. Because if you do, it'll eat you away. And it'll eat you away in more avenues than one. I'm sure that a lot of this stuff that I really haven't comprehended or broken down for myself in the last handful of years, I'm sure that those things have affected my quality of work and my quality of home life and my ability to be a good dad. My mom never got to meet my 4-year-old. He was born after she passed. That's something that I think about every day. So, you just got to reach out. You got to do that stuff, and you got to. It doesn't make you weak to reach out. Okay, it doesn't make you weak to ask for help. It doesn't make you weak to just want to have a conversation. As a guy, I know for me personally, it always had this stigma of being a weak man if you can't just swallow it down and deal with it in your own time. You got to get past that stuff eventually and just have yourself a good cry and pull yourself up by the bootstraps and get back on track and have people that you can contact. I still struggle with it. I still don't always contact the people that I should. Those people know who they are. But I hope that they know that I would trust them to talk to them about it. It's just a process for me to get there, and it's a process for everybody to get there. It's not just me. I'm sure plenty of you guys have a journey similar to mine or a situation similar to mine, and it is a process to open up and to get through it. It all ties back to change is hard. It's all hard. Owning the things that are crippling your mind is hard. Owning the things that are weakening your body and your spirit, those things are hard. And finding the correct ways and the healthy ways to change and to make your life better, it's hard. And it's always going to be hard. But use your resources. I did a lot of online research. I still talk to the people around me when I have questions, especially about physical health. Make time for yourself. Make time for your needs. both physically and mentally. Get that fresh air. Journal. Do what you got to do. Write something down. Sing in the shower, whatever. But you got to have time for you, and you got to have time to think and get your own mind together, or else you just slide down the hill. And the further down the hill you get, especially if you're a chubby guy like me, it's harder to climb back up that hill, guys. So, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and ask for help when you absolutely need to ask for help. Okay? Like I said, it's never going to be easy. But I think with time heals all wounds, guys. So set those goals and make those changes, and hopefully, again, I'm not a poster child for this, but hopefully like me, you start to kind of feel like you're falling into the right rhythm. Like things are finally kind of setting up to go the way that you want them to go. Like I said, it's just not every day. Not every day is a win. Sometimes you fall behind, but you just got to find the small things. You got to make time for yourself and your needs and your family and all that stuff. And once you start falling into those things that you're passionate about, then the days become easier. And you feel like you have that purpose and you're set out to be successful mentally, physically, spiritually. I've said spiritually a handful of times, guys. I was baptized Catholic. I don't necessarily align into a specific religion. I don't believe. I've gotten very sciencey in the last 5 or 6 years of my life. So I look for a lot of evidence of these things, and the ultra religious people will say there's evidence everywhere, and the atheists will say that there's no evidence. I like to believe that I kind of fall in the middle, but you still have to be spiritually on track. You have to have faith in something. You have to believe in something, even if that something is that nothing's there. So get your mind right, get your body right, get your spirit right, and then you're creating the full package, and that full package is going to be amazing for your friends, for your family, and most importantly for yourself, because being trapped in your own brain, like as a jail cell, that's a pain in the ass. Okay? Seriously, it's not a fun time. You don't want to do that, and the longer you do it, the harder it is to get out. So give yourself a fighting chance and reach out and talk to people and get that fresh air, all right, guys? Jobs will replace you. Relationships end. And it's hard. And it sucks. Both of those things suck. A job, when I quit my job, they had a body in my position in 24 hours. Like they knew it was coming, like they strategized, but really it's just cogs in a machine. Okay? That's how it works. Relationships, a lot of times relationships aren't forever. Sometimes you're lucky enough to have a forever partner, and a lot of times, especially if you're on the dating scene or whatever, those things aren't always forever, and you find yourself at the bottom and you get your heart broken or whatever, but you gotta pull yourself up by the bootstraps and get back out there, and there's plenty of fish in the sea, but you're not ever going to be near the sea if you're trapped in your room dwelling in what could have been. Don't do that to yourself. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps and get going on it, That's really going to do it, I think, for today's episode. Again, guys, sorry for it might be a good thing. Sorry for the rambly nature of this episode. On my laptop, I have bullet points of things that I can just kind of keep me on track, because when I ramble, I am off into the universe. So, we talked about a lot of important things, and most importantly, though, guys, seriously, reach out if you need help. At the end of this video, I'll put, the mental health hotlines and stuff at the end of it. If you guys need those resources, please use them. Please use your friends. Please use your family. Do what you can. Reach out anywhere. Just get the help that you guys can. And at the end of the tunnel, guys, it's always going to get better. You gotta, the night is darkest right through the dawn, or just before the dawn. You gotta believe that eventually it's going to get better. One of the things I always tell my wife is that everything ends up okay eventually. So, like, yeah, oh man, right now I'm bogged down. I got this list of bills on the table. Somebody's calling me for money. God, I don't have that money. I don't have any money. I'm broke. You know, those things suck. But, you know, then payday hits and you make little chips and you start to get yourself back on track. You know what I mean? It's a process. It's absolutely a process. But it always ends up okay eventually. You just got to give it time. This isn't an overnight fix. So you got to believe in yourself and you got to believe in the process. Everything that I've been telling you guys today is a process. Okay? And I think, like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I think I kind of embody what that process is looking like, in that I want to get my body right and I want to get my mind right and I want to do those at the same time. But they're both processes and they're a day-to-day thing. And some days it feels great and some days it doesn't feel great. And some days I'm tired. Some days I have a ton of energy. You know, it's just a thing. It's a process. But if you understand it's a process and you take the bad days for what they are and you move on, you're going to have more good days than bad once you clear through the forest. You know, you just got to open the curtains and head down, move forward. Okay. And, you guys, you'll always have a place to go if you need it. And it's going to be right here at the Introverse Uncharted show, where I'm going to continue to try to do episodes weekly. They might start to look a little more like this, where I'm just kind of chatting. You know, a lot of the times when I talk about space and stuff like that, I have to have notes about what we're doing. But I'm going to try to incorporate a little bit more of just me talking to you into these episodes. This should kind of feel like, you know, you and me sitting out by the water just having a conversation, more so than a teacher hitting a whiteboard, which the last couple of weeks have probably felt like that, as I've drilled into some of the things that I love about space and some of the projects about space and Starship and Hubble and STS and all this kind of stuff. But like I said, it was going to be space-based today, and I decided, nah, let's go this route, because May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I struggle, and I'm sure that other people out there struggle. So hopefully this episode has helped, just kind of, if nothing more, let you know that you're not alone, and that if you need anything, to reach out to friends, to family, comment on the podcast, whatever. I'll do what I can. I don't have a million resources, but you know, use your resources and reach out. And at the end of the day, guys, everything's going to be okay. So I hope that this has helped you guys. I know just kind of chatting about mental health with you guys has helped me feel a little bit better. So let's grab May by the bootstraps. Let's get through it. Summer is on the horizon. We got hot days and swimming pools and beach trips and all sorts of fun stuff on the horizon. Cold beers, nice burgers on the grill, some chicken, whatever you guys are into. It's all on the horizon. Green grass, flowers blooming, trees are coming back. You know, find the things, guys, that make it better. Find the music in such a dark and dingy world at times. That's one of those reasons, guys, why I'm going to try to not be political on this podcast. Is politics separate and bring everybody down, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to remove that gravity from your guys' life and let you kind of float freely and have a good time. Again, to the moon, to Mars, and beyond with me right here on this podcast. As always, guys, thank you so much for the support. Like I said, they're not all bangers, but I'm proud of the progress that I've made on the show. I'm happy that you guys are tuning in. I hope you guys love this episode. This has been a longer episode. We're at almost an hour. I appreciate you guys sticking with me all the way to this point. Thank you guys so much for the continued viewership, for the continued, TikTok especially. I have a lot of views on there. So thank you guys so much for all of the clicks, all the likes, all the shares, all the follows, all that stuff. If you haven't yet, again, please hit the subscribe button below this video. Hit the bell so you get notifications about when I put new stuff out. Like, follow, share. Share it with your mom. Share it with your siblings. Share it with your neighbor, your pastor, your boss. Share it with whoever you possibly can. Get the word out so that we can continue to do this stuff at such a high level, hopefully, as we keep going forward. As always, I'm sure you can hear I got a 4-year-old peeking in. Here he is. Yep, see, here he is. This is my guy right here. But as we wrap up, I'm gonna end as I always do with a quote of the day. This is, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve love and affection. And that was said by Buddha, as my kid is like flexing $1 into the screen here. He's richer than I am. Look at that kid. As always, guys, I bid you to do more than just exist. Come with me into the uncharted. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Reach out if you need anything. Thanks, guys.